And then give me the 5-second countdown. Then.
Are we live on YouTube?
5.
Hey, YouTube.
4.
Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It's Lunchtime in Rome. Tonight, we have episode 163 entitled Abby Herr. What is the perspective like of a 10-year-old growing up with an increasing knowledge of emotional needs? What's it like being the youngest in a family that tries to practice healthy emotional responding in a world that desperately needs this understanding, even in the world of a 10-year-old? We'll be discussing all of this and more tonight at the table, so please pull up a chair and join us. First-time listeners can subscribe on your favorite podcast app or listen directly on lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, you could take our Relational Needs Questionnaire and make sure to follow us on all social media, and it'd be great if you can give us a 5-star review. Lex, what specifically is this podcast about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse when you are all alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That is how you keep people from being alone and what this podcast is all about. We demonstrate that in the first 15 minutes of the podcast and talk about it for the rest. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is
Lunchtime in Rome. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
So it's a little different around the table this week.
A little different.
We have 3 Hers.
Yes, we do.
3 Hers. I'm the odd man out for a different reason than normal this week. Normally it's just because I'm odd.
Yeah.
Now it's...
I'm sure you've got a lot to say, though, too. I mean,
I do have a lot to say.
Yeah.
It's been
a big week.
Were you guys on last week?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
We did Belonging.
You could tell I did not listen. I was on vacation still.
It's okay.
So I did not belong last week. I belong. You know where I belonged?
You belonged on the beach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My family was still in Ocracoke.
Never heard of it.
And we had a great time. We had a 2-week vacation this year. I think it's our second time doing that. And you just get to meld into it. You know? Like you just... But there were some things, like as good as a beach vacation is, right? And you're there, you're away from home. You're just, your physical surroundings are just beautiful and different. And obviously it's summer, it's hot, it's the water feels great. There were a lot of interesting things that happened to us along the way. So I want to talk a little bit about some of our speed bumps tonight.
We can't wait to hear.
So one thing, and we kind of knew this heading into it, although it has, I don't want to get into detail with family involved, but like it's sort of expanded into a bigger deal than it was going to be. Amy's dad had a foot and ankle surgery the very day we were leaving on vacation, and so he knew that ahead of time, and we knew it ahead of time, and we were all in discussion of is this going to work, like should we postpone the surgery or how? No, he was going to be fine, everything was going to be fine, and he is fine. So that's that part is good.
Did you guys go to Titusville before? Because don't you guys sometimes go up to Titusville and then start the trip?
We did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's where we left for that very same day.
Gotcha.
So, so that part went really well. Although he's still recuperating and having to go through like rehab and that sort of stuff for his surgery. Not back at home yet, which we didn't realize was going to happen. So. Unfortunately, that part of what that meant was Amy had to deal. Amy being, the closest relative and just sort of the point of contact.
And your wife.
And
wife.
She's also my wife. Thank my lucky stars every day. She had a lot of sort of the business end of that to deal with on vacation. So there were several phone calls and things like so. So she wasn't able to relax as much as she would have liked for that reason. Yeah,
but it really is nice to go away and just kind of have every little thing tied up and just kind of wall yourself off from the outside world.
And the funny thing is, like, I thought it was as much as you can. Like, you can't predict everything,
absolutely.
Right? But I tried so hard this year to like, okay, I'm going to make sure everything is set in the house, just for like, even when we return and all the bills are paid, all the loose ends are tied up. Like, it's all going to just be not only a nice relaxing vacation, but a nice re-entry when you get home. You don't want to be like slapped in the face by all the stuff that has been put off, you know?
Rough re-entries are not a great way to end your vacation.
Yeah. The older I get, I feel like the more I think about that.
Yeah.
Like, what's this going to be like when I come
almost
back?
as much a part of the vacation.
Right. But yeah, we started our adventure in Titusville to drop our dog off with at my mom's, and that's all great. That part of the trip was fine, and but just like a lot of, I mean, you could call them little things, but just a lot of annoyances along the way, and Amy tended to think, these are. Instead of, because we got to the point where we're like, okay, we can drown in all these like little things that keep
little
happening.
Paper cuts.
Yes. Yeah. Or we can just realize, okay, that's all they are.
Yeah.
Like this just little pebbles that you're slipping on a little bit. It's not like a landslide. But for example, she and Ben both got stung by wasps / hornets on the trip. So there's that little thing. And you were telling me that
Joe Mitlow.
Yeah.
And Eric, right before vacation, I think he said he got stung.
They're out
in the backyard. Amy did. Yeah. When they came back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody's getting stung. Yeah. Except for me. So
knock on. Guys. And this is, by the way, this table's real wood. So
Huntsman Projects.
Feel free to knock on. Oh gosh, what else happened?
You kayaked.
So what's that?
You were kayaking. Oh, are you still talking about the little things?
The kayaking was great. Well, let's talk about good points too.
Good, yeah,
we rented kayaks this year, 2 tandems, because of course there are 4 of us, and neither Lily nor Amy is interested in like being in a kayak on their own, right? Okay. So both of them want to be in a tandem, and that's basically how we split it up. Ben and I were like, we each had a kayak, and we sort of actually. Sometimes Amy was with me, sometimes Lily was with me, and vice versa. Yeah. But yeah, it's a great place to like you're for those of you who don't know, the Outer Banks of North Carolina, they're islands pretty much, right? So on the inside you have the Sound, which is very calm water, and that's where you would kayak. So it's not like we were kayaking in the waves and in the rough ocean. But lots of like little Sound side beaches and things you could stop at, and like just little things to explore, and so that was very cool. A
different perspective, because you guys go down to Ocracoke quite a bit, and so that would probably be just hey, I'm seeing the island in a little bit of a different way.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, Lily, she laughed at this line. Like, I thought it sounded perfectly normal. I said, I love seeing the water from the water. She thought that was the most ridiculous thing, but it's like a different perspective. Like, not only the water, but I guess you're seeing the land from a different perspective too. But just, I would love to like just look out and all you can see is water, because the Sound there is really wide, like over 20 miles wide. So you're not seeing mainland. Like it is just, you're out there.
It is amazing how just those subtle things, those little ways of seeing something differently can make you see it so differently. Like, I remember being golfing up at Alcoma Country Club, or it was 3 Lakes at the time here in Penn Hills. I've lived in Penn Hills all my life, but I'd never been on that course. And I just remember being out on that course and looking around, going, "This is Penn Hills. Like, I've never seen it like this before." Or I remember the first time I went to PNC Park and seeing the city, the skyline like that. I was like, this is awesome. It's like a whole different city.
Right. It's framed up so perfectly there.
Yeah. So for you guys to have gone to that, to Ocracoke so many times, but to be able to get that kind of a different view, that kind of a different vibe, that's really cool. And to do it as a family all together is very cool too.
Yeah. And we had some really good family times. Like all that part of it was really great. But little things kept happening. On the way home, our van busted a leak, I guess, in the exhaust.
Turned into a street rod.
Yeah. I said it sounded like we were firing up like an F-350 or a monster truck every time we started the car. It was vroom.
You fired it up outside of Jay's last night. I was like, what is that?
Yeah, I saw you poke your head out.
Is that the neighbor's on his motorcycle?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. We're getting it looked at tomorrow, but it happens on your ride home from vacation. So of course you're like already in unfamiliar territory.
Yeah.
And okay, what do we do? Now, we had already planned to spend the night in Fayetteville, North Carolina, because we were visiting Amy's sister and her husband. And so we had that. So we're like, okay, well, that's good that it happened close to here, right? So, but in the morning, we got to figure it out. Well, we take it to a mechanic, and of course, we don't have an appointment and the whole thing. And we're waiting, and then the verdict comes back that it is going to be like a really expensive repair. And it's going to be a day to order the part, and then after that it's going to be like a day to repair. So we're like, we can't do all that. We can't spend all that time. Like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Thankfully, he was like, well, you can, hopefully it won't get worse on your way back to Pennsylvania. Like, there's, it's loud, but you're
not going to pass out from carbon monoxide poisoning.
Right. It wasn't that bad, but it was just more annoying than it was dangerous. So we drove home. It was a little loud, but it was doable. And again, so there's the annoyance factor versus, it's the pebble, not the avalanche.
Right.
So, all right. So we, got my guy to take a look at it tomorrow morning. We'll see. Hopefully he's got a little cheaper answer as far as the repair work, and we're back home.
What's the update on Tessie? Because for those of you that don't know, Tessie's Chris's Tesla, and somebody rear-ended them, about a week before vacation?
Yep.
And really just destroyed the back end of that car.
Yeah, that was a big pebble.
Yeah, that was a big pebble. Yeah. That was a big one.
But no, the update on there is there's very little update. They've got the back end off. They like the all the insurance stuff is sort of in place. Well, not sort of. It is in place, so they can move forward. So they've taken it apart. They've taken the whole back of the car, apart. But they're waiting for the new parts to arrive, and some of them are like way out, like 2 months out potentially.
Like literally slow boat from China kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right. So we are going to be without that vehicle for a while.
Oh wow.
Couple months, or I don't know, month and a half, something like that. Couple months. And and our van, which I got to take in tomorrow, hopefully is a quick repair because we're losing. Yeah,
right.
We're going to be walking everywhere really soon.
Hey, I got a Ford that drives for about 20 minutes. I could lend to you. Well, that's great. That's great that you guys had, even though there were the little annoyances, that you guys had a really nice family time. I'm sure you had 4th of July, and that was fun down there too.
Right, it's a fun celebration there. They do it well for a tiny little village. There's a nice parade and fireworks and everything. Yeah, we had a good time.
I've been dealing with a swimmer's ear. I've never had an ear infection before, and I noticed it before our vacation started. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I noticed something was just off in my ear. And went on vacation, and towards the end of vacation, it really started to get bad. Came home, and I had some extra amoxicillin from just lying around. So I took a bunch of it for 3 days, and it seemed to clear the infection up. But then it was this past Friday and Saturday where it just kind of came raging back. So I went in and saw
you angered the bacteria or whatever.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Only take it till it feels better.
Yeah, right.
That's what they always say.
That's what they always say about antibiotics. Never take the full course. But I mean, it wasn't prescribed to me for that anyway. So it's kind of Wild West. But it came back, so I went and got these drops, and I think the drops are making it worse. Like I think today I'm finally starting to see some progress again. But it's just been annoying, a little bit of a sore jaw, a little bit of, it's not the inner ear, it's not like the eardrum, it's just the canal. But I've never had something like it before, so it's just annoying. And I do remember, like at the beginning of swimming season, like in May, I felt like I kept like having my ear clogged, and I kept trying to drain it.
Yeah.
And then a month later, it starts to do this. So lesson learned: dry my ears.
You got to do the Kramer technique from Seinfeld, where he is like bouncing around. What is that? Oh, that's like the last episode of the show, I think. Oh. Spoiler alert. See, he's bouncing around. They're in that plane. This is when they almost crashed the plane. And
I vaguely remember.
All right. Well, he's bouncing around like crazy Kramer motion. So you got to try that.
Okay.
Just not in a plane.
I'll give it a shot. I won't do it in a plane. And Sunday I had a really good day, though. Even though this ear infection thing started to kind of pop its head up again. Did the 2 services at church, which was really nice because I hadn't really played live in a couple weeks, and then Eric and I played around a disc golf at the church course, and it was just a really nice day, good conditions. He and I had a really nice time. Came home, hung out by the pool, and Eric and Maggie came over, and our neighbors came over, and then I got to play 2 hockey games on Sunday night. So it was just a very full day of really satisfying things.
Wait, that was all the same day?
That was all the same day. Yeah. It was, and like I just kept thinking to myself, I'm not getting tired. Like I just and then I came home and just absolutely crashed. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, Saturday I
Hi, Lex.
Hi.
Yeah, Abby dragged her mom on this episode too.
Yeah, Saturday I got to meet up with a bunch of ladies from work, which we had wanted to do a lot more often, but COVID. And so we hadn't all seen each other in person since, I believe, October of 2019.
And you all work from home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we all work from home.
Right, sure, okay.
And actually, two of the ladies still work for the same company, but they've moved on to other departments. So it was fun for the 6 of us to get together, and we went to G&G's in Vandergrift, which I think you mentioned.
I think we've talked about it on the podcast maybe once before. I think Joe he and Joe may have gone there.
Yeah, but we met up there for breakfast, and the special of the day was Boston cream pie French toast, and it was incredible.
I was going to ask if when you said Jay and Joe, if that's one of their famous breakfast trips.
I think when they were doing their breakfast circuit that they made it over there at some point. I think.
Yeah, so it was a good time. It was a bit of a hike, but we're all so scattered that it was going to be a hike for most of us, no matter where we picked anyway. So it was wonderful. It was fun to catch up with everybody and eat some really good food that was not good for us, and do that. So, how about you, girl? Did you do anything fun this week?
Can't really remember.
How about yesterday morning? Where did you go?
Oh, I went to the movies with Gigi and Fufu.
Yes.
An actual, like a real live movie theater?
Yes.
Nice.
What'd you go see?
Yeah. We went to see the new Minions movie.
Awesome.
Was it good?
Yeah, it was really fun.
Have you seen them all so far?
I'm pretty sure.
Which one was your favorite so far? I think there's 3 of them, right?
Yeah. Well,
are there 3 Minions, or is it Despicable Me also, or 2 or whatever, and then did they branch off? I don't know. I kind of lost track. Or did they make solo Minion movies?
There is a separate Minions movie. I don't know if there's...
Maybe there's only 2 now then.
Yeah.
This is at least the second Minions movie, right? Somebody help us out.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is the 4th one. Because I
Overall.
remember 3 before this.
Okay.
But yeah.
And then you did some shopping this week, didn't you? This past, like within the past week? Yeah.
Yeah, I got a bunch of stuff. We went to Walmart and then Goodwill, and I got some good clothes.
But you like to shop. You like to just explore the racks and
I do.
aisles.
Yeah.
I know this isn't in the last week, but I heard that you liked hanging out with the older girls at the beach when you went.
Yeah. We went on walks on the beach, and I went on a walk twice to this coffee shop down at a pier. And it was kind of a long walk, but it was good exercise, and there was good coffee, and I got ice cream, and it was fun.
Are you a big coffee drinker, Abby?
I've started not getting it for a while, but
you got to get off of that caffeine.
Yeah, but I've started to get it a little bit more often now.
Yeah, you went on kind of a refresher kick for a while, huh?
Yeah.
Got to clean out all those toxins. Got to let it clean out for a while before you.
That's why you do the walk in the morning.
That's right. Yeah. Get everything flowing.
Well, now that you all have gotten to hear her voice, tonight we're welcoming Abby to the table. Abby is the sister of Ethan, who you all got to hear at the table before, and is also the daughter of myself and Bri. But more than that, she is a living, breathing force of nature, a fashion icon, a musician, an artist, a best friend to those she opens up to, a devoted mom to her feather and fur babies, and she is one of the most self-aware individuals I have ever had the honor to meet, and I am beyond blessed that she calls me friend, among many other names. So welcome to the table, Abby.
Aw, what an introduction.
Yeah. So talk about your chickens real quick.
So I hatched them from eggs back in 3rd grade of last year in January, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then the teacher let some of us take them home. And there were only about like 8 or 9 chickens. I think there were like 8 or 7. But we brought home 3, and they get along well together, and they've been a fun adventure because we've been getting eggs, and they're just fun to like play with and stuff.
Where did they live when we first brought them home?
They lived in my room, and I heard a lot of chirps when I was trying to fall asleep and when I was doing my online work.
Because that was that year. Yeah, lots of online work.
Lots of online work, and it started to get all stinky in your bedroom, huh?
Yeah.
Because chickens stink.
They do.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Chickens.
Then we moved them into the garage, and then now they've been living outside for over a year.
Yep.
And then in the winter, it got too cold for them, so we moved them into the shed.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of that has to be a really satisfying thing to take these living creatures from an egg to where they are now and producing their own one egg a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. How have you grown? What have you learned by having chickens and being a chicken mama?
I've learned a lot of stuff about chickens, but I've learned a lot more responsibility because I have to take care of them. They don't just take care of themselves. I have to like feed them, I have to give them water, and I feel like I've just been much more responsible since I got them.
Yeah, I would agree. You've done a really good job at being responsible. And I'm really proud of you for that. You also have an expander in your mouth. So
yeah.
and you're going to be getting braces. And what do you think about all that?
I'm glad that it's going to turn out well in the end, but it's a little annoying.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Because even though I've had it for a while, I'm still having trouble on a couple things, like a couple of sounds.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like relearning how to speak in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Now, do you keep that in when you get your braces? Or does that come out and the braces kind of replace that?
I'm pretty sure it comes out and the braces go in.
Okay. All right.
And to further introduce Abby, I think one of the things that of all the different things, I think one of the things I love the most about you is your creativity and your, it seems like everywhere you go in any situation you're in, you're looking for a way to innovate. You're looking for a way to invent. You're looking for, just some kind of outlet. Like, just this morning, Abby we redid Abby's room a couple months ago and got this really plush carpet. Mm-hmm. And just this morning, I wanted to talk to Abby about this timeline or this outline for what we were going to talk about tonight. And she's sitting there like playing with the carpet, putting her putting her hands into it, and it reminded me of one of those things that you see on people's desks at work, where like you can put your face into the spikes,
mold different shapes.
Yeah, but she's always doing something that seems to be creative or inventive or thoughtful, which I really think is awesome about you.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've had so many different colors of mac and cheese in our house and we've gone through so many boxes of food coloring because you love to dye your food different colors and cook. And my goodness, I think you might have more cookbooks on the shelf that you use regularly than I do.
Yeah, Ethan thinks dyeing the noodles and stuff is disgusting.
Well, Ethan also went through his phase when he was younger where I made him green scrambled eggs and purple ice cream. So he just went through his phase a little younger than you.
Well, it doesn't surprise me when she is like, hey, I'm going to bake a cake today. And I don't think anything of it. Like, I don't think about her using the stove. I don't think about her, like, what's this going to turn out like?
That's just a normal thing in your house.
It's just a normal thing. She started to crochet. Both Lex and Abby started to crochet recently. So you are incredibly inventive and creative and are always looking for things to express that creativity. And you're moving this year from 4th to 5th grade.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, so talk a little bit about your 4th grade and, what were maybe some of your victories and maybe some of the challenges that you had there.
And this was your final year at Penn Hills Elementary, right?
No, I'm going I'm staying for next year.
Oh.
But then 2 years from now, I'm moving into middle school.
Yeah,
They
moved,
changed
They
it.
moved 5th grade back from Linton
Okay.
to Dival.
Elementary.
That's what it was
Right,
called when I
that's
went
what-
there.
Yeah.
To elementary, 2 years ago?
I think so.
Wow,
Yeah.
I've lost track. Wow. Well, okay, that's cool. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about transitioning schools.
Yeah.
But now you're going to be like the oldest in the school too.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And last year for 4th grade, I was really proud, and I am proud of myself for finishing every quarter with straight A's and finishing out the
Wow.
year with straight A's.
Heck yeah.
And there were a couple times when it got to a little under an A, but I was able to get it up, and yeah.
You worked really
You
hard.
did?
Yeah.
And it wasn't just your grades that you worked really hard at. You were also doing some other things throughout the year too, weren't you?
Yeah, I was, well, 2 things. I was doing chorus and orchestra, and I played the violin, and it was really fun to learn a new instrument and learn some new things about singing that I didn't know. So that was fun, and a lot of my friends were in chorus and orchestra, so I wasn't alone, which made me feel much better about it.
Yeah, because being alone's the worst.
Right? It
Yeah.
always helps when you're not alone.
And that's the whole reason why we do this podcast. So you felt a good sense of belonging in doing those group activities. And
Yeah.
it was nice that you were back in class
Yeah,
after
it
2
definitely
really
was.
tough years, right? I mean, COVID, those years were probably kind of tough on you.
Yeah, I was, well, in 3rd grade, it was optional to be virtual or like actually in the building. And I think like halfway through the year, I decided to go back after virtual.
Do you remember the exact phrase or the exact sentence that you used with me to let me know that you want to go back?
I was like, I want to go back because I need more human interaction.
You said I crave human interaction.
Oh, right.
So that's an incredibly self-aware thing for you to understand, that you were feeling alone and you needed that sense of belonging, you needed that stimulation, and you expressed it well.
Well, and acceptance and attention are 2 of her highest needs on her
Yeah.
list.
Would
Yeah.
you say, Abby, anything from 4th grade was a challenge? Or do you feel like you cruised straight A's, no problems? Or even if it wasn't like classwork, anything during this past year that you're like, this was a little tough, this was a challenge, or this hurt a little bit to get through?
In school, I feel like it was kind of tough to like make up my makeup work because I was absent a lot because I was getting like sick and stuff.
And vacations and going away.
And like when I was gone, makeup work had just piled up, and sometimes I couldn't get it in on the due date, and it was frustrating because my teachers would get kind of frustrated with me, and I don't like it when I frustrate people, so it made me feel bad and just like upset.
That's interesting because you touched both on like sort of the utilitarian part of it, the work part of it, that like, okay, this was just it, there was a lot of work to do getting caught up, and just the annoyance of, okay, I was sick a lot this school year, right? But then you're also thinking about, how's this making other people feel, and how am I affecting the people around me? Yeah.
And especially on top of that, we also had homework like every day except for like when we were out of school and on Fridays, because we never had homework on Fridays unless it was like clean out our folders or whatever, or study for a test on Monday or something. But we pretty much always had homework, and that just made the makeup work worse because I had more work to do.
Yeah.
And the homework was due the next day, so I had to figure out and manage when I could get that done.
Yeah, you had some late nights.
Yeah.
There were some nights that I felt like I had to call it and be like, you know what, we'll just do
Little
this.
sleep's more important than...
Yeah, exactly. It was frustrating.
And speaking of managing, there was, I think, something that started to develop maybe towards the second part of the year within your friends, where you started to see some things in some friends that started to give you some challenges, and you had to figure out how you were going to handle those friends or that friend who you love dearly, but also were starting to see some things. You want to talk about that a little bit without naming names?
Yeah. So there's this friend who I've known for like several years now.
Mm-hmm.
I think since like the end of kindergarten or like the middle of kindergarten. And she's gotten a little clingy and frustrated if I talk to one of my friends that she doesn't like. Like, I have some friends that she judges, and it gets me frustrated because they're my friends, and whenever I want to talk to them at school, she always looks at me and with like a frustrated face, and I don't like that because they're my friends, and I feel like, yeah, we're friends, and you may not like that friend, but they're my friend, so I can talk to them. And it wasn't like she didn't like them and then I became friends with them. It was like from the beginning of the school year, I was pretty much friends with them. And then she started to not like them because of how they acted. But they were like really nice to me. And it got me frustrated because she would just get mad at me for talking to one of my friends that was like a good friend to me. And I just didn't like how she judged my friends. And like the new kids, like I swear last year that we got like a whole bunch of new kids that joined the school later. And as soon as they came into the classroom, she judged them. And I feel like you should always get to know someone before you judge them, because you don't know what they're like if you just judge them on their looks. So that got me really mad.
That makes
So,
sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And how did you handle that? What did you do? What steps did you take?
I didn't stop talking to the friends that she didn't like, but I still talked to them, but just like a little less, and tried to talk to her that they're my friend and I can talk to them if I want to, and you don't necessarily have to like it.
You told this person that?
Yeah, but I wanted to hang out with them at school sometimes because they had like no other friends at school, and I wanted to be their friend so that they weren't lonely. And she just kept saying, yeah, well, I don't like them, so like just try to talk to them less. And I was like, I will, but I'm still going to talk to them. And like, your opinion can't always affect what I do. Like, I'm gonna do what I want to do, and you can't allow if I can do that or not.
Yeah.
'Cause like, you can't control what I do.
I can see that you're, even now just talking about it, you're a little, you can tell that you're a little bit upset. So
Yeah.
that can be a tough situation
Yeah.
when you are in the middle of something, right? And like you're trying to be the reasonable person, and there's people on one side, in this case just one side, being unreasonable, and you're trying to manage that in addition to people who need things on the other side of you as well, and you're trying to be there for them. That it's being in the middle between two sides is never easy.
Can be a tough place to be, especially when you love this person also,
Yeah.
and have a rich, good history with this person.
And there were 2 kids that I was friends with, and she was friends with them too. Especially this one girl. Like, all 3 of us were like best friends. And then the other girl, she was like nice to me, and I was nice to her, and we were friends. And my like best friend and the other girl were like friends, but they weren't like friends. They were like, they'd talk, but they wouldn't like tell each other everything. And she didn't always want her sitting at our table at lunch when we had cafeteria days.
Do you think that your best friend may have been feeling scared that if you got other friends, you might not be her friend anymore?
Yeah, I feel like I saw that a couple times.
Her being scared and like reacting out of fear?
Well, not scared, but like she just didn't want to lose me because we had been friends for like so long.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we've known each other for so long that she didn't want me to abandon her from other friends that I hadn't known for a while.
Yeah, there's times in life where people react out of fear, and you may be the only life preserver that they have. You may be their life preserver, and a lot of times we talked about this recently in previous weeks on the podcast, where you can be around people that are drowning, and they can pull you under, or really really hurt you because of their fear and of losing you or something like that.
Yeah. And sometimes I'd see that she thought that I couldn't have other friends, yet she had other friends. Like, I couldn't have other friends that she didn't know, and that, like, if she hadn't met them, she had to approve of them before we really got to being friends. Meanwhile, she had other friends. And I felt hurt from that because it was like she was giving me, like, she was telling me something, but she wasn't following what she was telling me.
Double standard.
Yep, it's called a double standard. Yeah, and that can be very frustrating. It can be very disrespectful.
You know what I have appreciated so much, though, is throughout this whole year, you have shared about it, though. You have talked to us, and you have sought advice, and shared your worries and your frustrations with us, and kept that communication open with us, so that we can help you work through it, and not like, what should I do every time, but gosh, I just need to be heard. I just need to get this off my chest. And that's so healthy, and that's such a good way to approach it.
So we're going to talk a little bit about our relational needs questionnaire. And Abby, I know you took it. When did you take this test?
I think it was a couple days ago.
Okay.
I think it
That's
was
good.
like Saturday or Friday.
I think it was Friday morning.
Yeah.
Okay, and that was your
Or
first time
Thursday
taking
night.
it?
Yeah, Thursday night.
Was that your first time taking the questionnaire? Cool.
Yeah, it was.
What'd you think?
It was good. It was long.
Yeah.
But it was good.
Yeah, it's longer than
I
it
think
used
it's
to
50
be.
questions,
And it's
something
more
like that.
detailed, which of course gets better results, so that's always a good thing.
But let me before we move on, let me just say that she took it entirely by herself. She didn't. Neither of us prompted her to take it.
Yeah.
She just decided she wanted to go take this questionnaire.
Well, that was timely.
It was very timely.
I was like, I've heard them talk about it a lot, so like I might as well go take it and see. So that's what I did.
Yep.
And as being 10, right?
Yeah.
Not only are you our youngest guest on the podcast so far, you're probably one of the youngest people to take the relational needs questionnaire. So, as a kid, if I may still call you a kid,
Yes,
a preteen,
you can still call me that.
your scores will probably change some as you get older,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean that your scores right now are any less real or less important. Like these are
Right.
your scores right now. Like this is how you are
Yeah.
feeling about all of these needs and how they impact you and as a 10-year-old. So when you took this, did you, and I forget because it's been a while since I've taken it, does it introduce the relational needs before you take the test, or does it just talk about them afterward?
So you answer the questions, and then when the email is emailed to you, that's when it gets into what the actual things
so you
are.
take it sort of with a blank slate. Okay.
Mhm.
So did you get the email result?
Yeah, but Mama read it to me.
Okay.
I got it, I think, but I didn't read it myself.
Sure. There's a lot to process
Yeah.
and to sort of digest and all of that. So you have some high scores. Some of your high scores are acceptance, attention, and support.
Yep.
So what do you think about, let's go with acceptance first. Acceptance would be that you feel a need for others to accept you even if you have done something wrong, right?
Yeah.
So just sort of like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm trying to think of a situation. What would a situation be?
Well, like with her teachers and the homework.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, she had anxiety, she had pressure because she wasn't. Jay might say something completely different, but to me, that's, are you still going to accept me even though
Right.
my homework hasn't been done on time or
Right.
maybe done as well as I thought it would be?
She
Yeah.
felt a pressure to be accepted in that situation despite like the difficulties with
Yeah.
getting things turned in.
Or
So-
like if we're in class and I got picked on to answer a question, like if I raise my hand and the teacher picks on me and I was really confident in my answer and I say my answer confidently, but it's wrong, I don't want people to make fun of me for it.
Mm-hmm.
I like that scenario. That's
Wow.
yeah,
Yep.
that's really good. I mean, I don't like that
Yeah,
scenario.
yeah.
I like that example.
That's a great
That's
example.
a really good one.
Absolutely.
Well, that's cool. Well, how about, let's see, attention. Oh, we just talked about this on pod a couple weeks ago too, how attention is like the black sheep of the emotional needs. Like that is, people can have a hard time with someone who sucks up all the attention. Now, you don't strike me, Abby, as somebody who sucks up the attention in a room, but what do you think it means in the way that you might enjoy attention or crave that relational need?
I feel like sometimes I just need to be heard.
Mm.
And like if I'm telling someone something, I need them to give me their full attention so that I know they're listening and it doesn't feel like I'm just talking to a wall.
Mm.
Because sometimes people can say, "Oh, what's wrong?" and then you explain everything to them and they weren't even listening.
Yeah.
So then you're like, "Do you have any advice for it?" And then they just don't give you an answer and you feel disrespected by that.
So that also ties in with respect, which
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about that because you were surprised that the respect wasn't a higher need for you.
Yeah, I feel like I need a lot of respect, but it's not like, give me respect. And I'm like, I need respect, but it's not super noticeable. Like, it's not like, oh, that girl needs respect. It's like, once you get to know me, you know that I need respect and that I get really hurt if you disrespect me or are just rude to me and don't understand that you disrespected me, because like you don't apologize if you hurt me, and I feel like I just need you to apologize to me because it hurt, and I need them to understand that it hurt me so that they don't do it again.
Right, and that apology is part of that respect factor where you feel like,
Yeah.
okay, you're acknowledging something happened here, and just acknowledging you and your feelings, that's part of respecting you. Yeah, that's great.
Now, I was, when I saw the results, what did not surprise me was that your need for encouragement is incredibly low, while your need for support is one of your highest.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
so again, the difference between encouragement and support is encouragement is saying, hey, I believe in you, you can do this. Whereas support is, let me come and physically come alongside you and help you do this. And that didn't surprise me, because I think about the example of, you used to have a very, very messy bedroom. And it was really, really difficult for you to get started. I would say, hey, your room needs to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
And you would say, and then
Why, yes, Father,
and
it
then
does.
it would get 10 times dirtier, it seemed like, from my perspective.
Yeah.
But what I found out was, I couldn't just say, hey, you're going to go do a great job cleaning that room. That room is going to look spotless after you're done cleaning that room.
Yeah.
Until I went in there with you and said, let's take this little pile here and put it away. Then you would get on a roll.
Yeah.
And
Yep. Going in and helping you get started.
Yeah.
Even just sitting on your bed and physically being there with you was drastically different than telling you could do it.
Yeah, because being supportive doesn't mean you have to actually physically be helping, but just in some way, even if it's emotionally
even that
helping,
presence,
like just
even the
like
presence of
And to turn that around, you display that. I am, doing classes online, to finish my degree. And last quarter, I had 2 assignments left. And I didn't have to do them in order to keep my A in those classes. I could have just let them go, but I need to finish my last 2 assignments. And I had told Abby, it's kind of the running joke, it happens every quarter, but I told Abby, I was like, I have 2 assignments left. And I was like, I'm going to go do them. And she came up and she sat next to me on the bed. And she's like, all right. She's like, I'm here. You can do it. And then she sat there with me for a few minutes. And then she's like, all right, I'm still up here with you, but I'm just going to be in my room, but I'm still up here with you. But
this is great.
Yeah.
Abby, what were you thinking? Like when that was like, before you headed up to sit with Mom, like what was your thought process?
I knew she'd need a little bit of emotional support to just get started, because sometimes you don't always need support, like physical support, to start something. You need someone to be like, I'm here with you and I'm keeping you company. If you need something, I'll be there. I'm not just abandoning you to do this. I'm sitting here with you, and I'll hear you through if you need trouble, if you have troubles.
Lex, I can't remember all of your emotional needs scores at this point. Where are you with encouragement?
I don't think mine is as drastic as Abby's, but I know my support is higher than encouragement. But it's also, I've realized that mine is situational. If I already know I can do it, then clap for me and encourage me. But there are some things that are a little more hands-on, more physical, and it's please pitch in and help me out. So it is a little more situational for me, but support is higher than encouragement for me a lot of times.
Now, as we've been doing this for a while, but as an adult looking at Abby, as one of us looking at Abby, was there anything in these results that may surprise you? Chris, looking through here, does this kind of line up with what you know about Abby? I think the only thing for me was the respect. I thought that would be a little bit higher.
Yeah, I dare say that the two of you know the ins and outs of her emotionally better than I do. So I wouldn't say that there's anything that is surprising. As I glance over them, I feel like it gives me, though, a little bit better understanding, which is always, that's the point, right?
Yeah.
But no, so I can't say surprise.
Yeah. I want to piggyback off something that you said earlier, Chris, about how emotional needs change.
Oh, yeah.
Because, and I mentioned this to you, Abby, earlier, when we were talking about them, when she was younger, like 3, 4, 5 years old, if she hurt herself, my initial instinct, which it always worked with Ethan, and every child is different, if she hurt herself, my instinct was, oh, let me hug you. Are you okay? I'm gonna, dry your tears and kiss your boo-boo. She did not want that. She wanted to scream it out, cry, no, I'm hurt. I'm not okay.
Oh, wow.
It was, I want the world to know I'm in pain. And so she did not want the comfort at all. And now, her current comfort rating doesn't surprise me because she does want the hugs. She does want the emotional comfort. But it is very interesting how that changes over time.
Yeah, and I feel like I am surprised about my respect and security because I thought my security was going to be a lot higher, but it's only a 5.
Interesting.
Why did you think it would be higher?
I just feel like it's a big need for me. I just feel like...
What would you call, when you say it's a big need for you, what in your life would you say, oh, this is security to me. This is what I need?
I feel like... Not, just comforting, but I feel like comforting is a big need of security for me. And, not... physically or mentally hurting me.
You don't want to be physically or mentally hurt?
Right. If someone hurts me, with words, I get really upset. And it takes part of my security away. And, I feel like if someone does something that they know irritates me and have told them about it before, and they do it, it makes me really irritated.
I could see that being a security situation because if you've talked to them about it before and yet sometimes it keeps happening, then every time you're with them, maybe there's that little grain of thought in the back of your head where you're like, oh, is this going to be one of those days where they do this thing?
Or what's the stability of that relationship?
Yeah.
Can I count on that person?
That is good stuff, Abby, really. And so on that note, I mean, you are a kid most kids don't get this when they are so young. You're a kid who has grown up, especially the past, I'd say the second half of your life, right? Of your parents and your parents' friends doing a lot of relational needs talk and helping and, being there for each other and being there for you. And
we've had open discussions about it in our house for a long time.
So what's it been like? What do you see when you see your parents? And I know these are the only parents that you see up close, you're although if you're at a friend's house or something, I suppose that's different too. You get to witness some other types of relationships. But what do you see when you see your parents together in a discussion? Does that ever, as you get older, does that ever start to pop out in your head oh, I see what they're doing there. Oh, I see that dad is addressing mom's need for security or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I don't really see it often because, they never really fight or anything. But, sometimes, they don't bring it up, but I can see that sometimes one of them gets hurt by something just even little that the other one says. And, I don't have any specific memories about it, but I've definitely seen it a little.
Yeah. That's awesome. So your parents never fight. That's good to know.
Or at least I don't hear them fight if they do. But I don't think they do.
Well, and there certainly aren't screaming matches, right?
Oh, definitely not.
So that goes to show that when there are, because there are always disagreements in a relationship, right?
Definitely.
That always happens. So, but that goes to show that whatever they're doing to try to get through those disagreements is probably more productive, because screaming at each other in anger is probably one of the least productive things you could do, right?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And we do have disagreements. but also we do recognize that you and Ethan are both in the house, and some things aren't your business that we need to put on you. So in talking about sense of security, we never want our problems to be something that becomes a scar or a hurt for you. We try to be very aware of that. But I think with this question, growing up in a house where that emotional needs are practiced, how do you feel like maybe you have an advantage over other kids or even other adults?
So some kids in my school, they like just randomly bring up that they're going to their mom's house and like they live in their dad's house, and they talk about how their parents are divorced from fights. And I feel like I'm very lucky to have parents that don't fight. And like I'm just glad that like you guys respect each other.
Mm-hmm. But do you feel like we've also practiced these things quite a bit in the house? And like I call them, they're teachable moments where something happens and you take a pause and say, okay, and then you learn. Like we always talk about our house being a safe space for us to make mistakes with each other. I think there's a lot of houses out there where there is no safe space.
Yeah.
And so the relational, these emotional needs that we've been talking about, not just in the podcast, we've transferred them into the house. Would you say you feel like that we've done a good job with being able to handle those kind of things?
Definitely.
Like we try to do that with like you and Ethan. Like, Ethan, well, we know he takes away your sense of security sometimes.
Yeah.
Doing things that you don't like him doing. Well, you do the same to him sometimes, irritating him, and you guys have your disagreements, and we try to bring the emotional needs talk into that so you can see how it's really affecting each other to help you guys be stronger.
Abby, do you ever feel alone in a bad way? And if so, what do you do in those times?
If I ever feel alone, like I don't have anybody, I try to find someone that will listen and just sit there with me. It could be Mama, or it could be you.
Good.
But yeah, I usually don't feel alone.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is you spend a lot of time, we talked about this morning, you spend a lot of time in your bedroom alone, but that's like a good alone. That is a content alone. That is a creative kind of alone.
Yeah.
But when you're feeling like a hurtful kind of alone or a scared kind of alone, you're saying you try to find somebody that will join you so that you don't feel alone.
Yeah.
That's very good. So being young and very observant and incredibly self-aware, what sort of lessons have you learned about life and relationships and adults and people your own age? Just kind of,
that's a big question.
Since you're like young, and so you kind of, you can like watch from when people aren't realizing you're watching. What kind of lessons have you learned from that vantage point?
Well, a lot of times at school, kids don't really ever fight, but like I see that they have disagreements. Like if we're in partners or groups, they have disagreements, and then one of them just like works on their own, and they don't try to do anything about it. And I see that they were hurt by it, but they don't try to stand up for themselves. And they just like go somewhere else and try to work. So
you don't see a lot of people working out their emotional needs in your school, in your classroom, is what you're saying?
Not really.
Do you ever now? I was gonna say sort of along those same lines, Brian. Like, Abby, do you see though anytime kids who are like, oh, you say, oh, they did a good job comforting that person, or oh, they seemed like they really cared about what that other person was feeling. You ever see things like that?
No, not really.
Wow, yeah, that could be tough. I was, she's heading into 5th grade. That's a tough time, like peer-wise and everything. That is, woo.
Yeah.
Sounds like you are handling it very well.
Yeah.
Well, and even just your ability to, I think, understand what you were talking about, respect and disrespect. Like, that's a big thing for you to have learned, and I think you've learned that and observed that through. I mean, you always see a lot of the times us as the 4 families together. You hear, especially Jay talk about it at church sometimes. Emotional needs, and so I think you've absorbed quite a bit. In a lot of ways that you might not even realize yet. So that's a big question to ask. A lot of people feel alone and don't understand what you already do. From your 10-year-old perspective, what advice, knowledge, wisdom, and or warnings would you give to kids your age? We're gonna ask 2 different kinds of people. Kids your age, what advice, warnings, wisdom, what could you pass on to kids your age?
Well, I could say I've seen that a lot of the times I'm more mature than kids my age, and a lot of the times I say, well, I don't say, but I give advice to kids having a hard relationship with their friends, that if their friend or whatever is mad at them and they ask for some space, that you should respect that and give them some space, and you shouldn't try to invade them with apologies, because that could make it worse. Because if they're like, no, I need some space, please, leave me alone for a while.
Kind of like what Mama was saying, when you used to get hurt, you wanted space, you didn't want comfort.
Yeah. And sometimes I've seen that there are kids who ask for some space from their friends for a little bit, and their friend's like, I'm sorry, what did I do? And the other friend's like, dude, I need some space. Can you can I just sit at my desk and you go back to your desk, because I just want to be alone for now.
So you started to be able to see those teachable moments where you can step in almost in like an advisor role, a mentor role, somebody that has wisdom to be able to help your classmates work through some of these things, because you understand what clicks and sometimes what doesn't click. That's awesome. Same question. What advice would you have? There's a lot of adults listening that are listening because they're looking for advice. They're looking for wisdom. There's a lot of adults that are looking for how to relate to their kids like we're relating to you. And there's a lot of adults that are looking to hopefully develop somebody like you who can be that person to their friends. You know what I mean? So for the adults that are listening to this, from your perspective, what advice, what encouragement, what wisdom, what warnings would you give to them in order for those things to happen?
I'd say observe things closely. And if something goes wrong, then you can try to help. But if you see that there's something you can't fix, or you can't heal or help, you need to learn that you can't help that. And sometimes if you try to help that, then it could just make it even worse. And then sometimes even the smartest people can't fix it. Now I don't really have any examples for that, and it's kind of hard to give advice to adults, because usually I'm not the one giving advice, so it's just hard to give advice to adults.
No, I get what you're saying, and I think that goes along a lot with what Jay says about not giving facts, logic, and reason. You know, when you're coming up alongside someone, sometimes you just need to join them where they're at. You don't always need to fix.
Yeah.
So I think that was very wise.
And I would chime in with the other thing we say a lot: facts, logic, and reason is one of our trifecta. I just lost that word. What is that word?
Trifecta.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's one of our trifectas. And another one is to be open, honest, and vulnerable in our communication. And like, I think, Abby, you would agree. And we, you know, when you are an adult, a parent, communicating with your child, it's very important to be open and honest, and even as a parent to be vulnerable, because when you show some vulnerability to your child, then I think when they see that, they know that those lines of communication are truly open. You're not putting up any walls. You know, that doesn't mean your child has to know everything that's happening in your adult life, but it does mean that in your communication with them and your relationship with them, you're being open and honest and vulnerable.
Yeah, and I think that we have always tried to treat you with the respect that you are you're your own person, and you're very capable of having very real conversations, even if you might not understand everything at the time. We try to talk with you and to communicate with you as if you were just a small adult. And sometimes there's adults that I talk to that I'm like, man, I wish I was talking to Abby because she would get this. Abby, do you have any before we wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts?
No, not really.
Any last thing you want to say to everybody out there?
No.
She got it all out, because everything else she said was like so awesome.
Yeah. It was really great to have you on the podcast. I think that you gave a lot of unique advice and wisdom and perspective on what we've been talking about as adults for a long time on here. So that's going to do it for episode 163. Please make sure to give us a like or follow on social media. And listen, I was on Facebook today, and there's 3 likes on our Facebook page. There's just 3 people that have liked our Facebook page. So
thanks to those 3 people.
Well, thanks to those 3 people, but we say it at the beginning and end of every show. Please go give us a like, a follow on social media, and visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, like Abby did, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Thanks for joining us at the table for Lunchtime in Rome. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.